Today we're talking about the games that started it all, Super Mario Bros. And Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic and Mario were the biggest of rivals in the 90s, representing the largest game companies in the world and releasing consistent generation-defining games. In the years since, Sonic has more so fallen off, as did Sega as a console manufacturer, but these series will forever be linked. And with each one having a new 2D platformer releasing later this year, I figured now would be the perfect time to go all the way back and compare every main series Mario game to its Sonic comp. I'm only doing it that way because there's way more Sonic games, and not all of them line up with a Mario game. The original Super Mario Bros. Is the most revolutionary video game. It not only defined a genre and solidified Nintendo as the juggernaut they are today, but it also paved the way for gaming as a whole to be seen more as a legitimate medium. It was the video game, and Mario was the video game character. Without their own Mario, Sega would never be able to compete with Nintendo, so they made just that. With their edgy protagonist, these vibrant, beautiful environments, levels with secrets and shortcuts galore with an emphasis on speed, Sonic the Hedgehog was released to critical acclaim, and gave Sega their much-needed boost in the Western market. Both games had a huge impact on the industry, and set up series that would run for decades and counting. But with all of that aside, which one's better to go back and play today? Now, Super Mario Bros. Came out in 1985 and released on an 8-bit console, while Sonic the Hedgehog came out in 1991 for a 16-bit console. So it's obviously going to look a lot nicer and be a bit more advanced, but I'm going to take that context into account and try to compare them as objectively and thoughtfully as possible. The first levels in both of these games do an excellent job at demonstrating their respective gameplay styles and design philosophies. And while one sticks to those a lot better than the other, these are two of the most iconic stages in video game history. Level 1-1 had to teach much more though. There's a reason that name is associated solely with this level. It was the introductory stage, and it succeeded in every regard. 2D side-scrollers weren't a thing yet, so it had to present that whole concept, while doing the same for enemies, power-ups, death pits, pretty much everything. Just the first screen here is perfect. You're started off on the left side of the screen, so naturally, you gotta move right. And in doing so, the screen begins to move, and you encounter an angry-looking thing walking towards you and a box with a question mark. Without any words or tutorials, you've figured out all the basics, and know just about everything you need to go ahead and beat the entire game. Now, it certainly gets difficult, but there's a real natural progression that leaves no player feeling stuck. And with the way the levels were built, beating them relies on how skillfully you're able to platform and time things out. You can see the obstacles as they come up and plan your next move, which is in stark contrast to the way Sonic the Hedgehog does things. But starting off with Green Hill Zone, it's phenomenal. It didn't have the daunting task of introducing people to side-scrollers, but it certainly had to get people used to this momentum-based platformer, and it does a fantastic job at that. It starts with a ton of open space, and when you hold forward as you would in Mario, you gradually gain speed. It doesn't just happen with a run button, you gotta earn it, which is pretty satisfying. So you keep going, probably miss a jump somewhere, and think you're dead. But instead, you fall to this lower path that has more stuff that wants to hurt you. It's slower, but you're alive, and you're left wondering what the level would look like had you stayed up top, and it instills this curiosity and desire to see more of the stage. And if you don't fall off, you're rewarded by maintaining your speed, and the paths meet back up at the iconic loop-de-loop, which you can only get through if you're moving quickly. So when you finally achieve that, it feels great, and the next few seconds serve solely as spectacle to let you get a taste of Sonic's top speed. It flawlessly demonstrates why and how you should use Sonic's speed, and does so in a really enjoyable way. Then Green Hill 2 and 3 build off that, with slightly more platforming elements. But still, they're like sandboxes that let you experiment with the mechanics. It's awesome. But the levels to follow kinda go against what Green Hill teaches you. It all starts with Marble Zone, which is pretty much the antithesis. You try to move fast and you're punished. It's all about tight platforming with way too much waiting around, and it's not fun. Spring Yard bounces back though, letting you play around with your momentum in unique and exciting ways, but then Labyrinth Zone is just awful. I could never beat this one as a kid. The underwater physics are so infuriatingly slow and make everything a chore, and that mixed with all this random bullshit that gets you killed is just bad. It is. If you get through it though, Starlight Zone is probably the second best in the game, bringing back the speed and, fun. Then Scrap Brain tries killing you over and over and over again, and when you make it through Act 2, the third is just a mix of Labyrinth and Scrap Brain and is just pain. Also keep in mind, I'm playing the Sonic Origins version, which has unlimited lives, a spin dash, and no spike glitch. But even still, it doesn't cover up how terrible some of these stages are. The first level sets up this expectation, and only a select few of the others actually deliver on that, and they don't surpass it. If it was more Starlight and Spring Yard, it'd be a great experience through and through, but there's so many things that just annoy the hell out of you. I get that you're supposed to learn the level layouts and slowly get better to move through more efficiently, but that learning curve is steep, and the way up is littered with, oh, there's no way I could have seen or reacted to that, but that's okay, that's not supposed to happen. Come on, seriously? Your first playthrough just tests your patience. It's not as fast-paced as it usually gets labeled. Sure, you have the potential to move quickly, but until you learn the ins and outs of each stage, you're only going to be able to through Green Hill, so it's kind of misleading. I'll give it some credit though. Each area looks very distinct from the others, and is home to different enemies and sometimes gimmicks, which makes each one feel pretty fresh. That's more than I can say for Mario, which yes, is on way weaker hardware, but still, there's pretty much no variety. This is level 1-1, and this is level 8-1.
They're the same picture.
But that uniformity is also present in the way the game goes about challenging the player, and that works so much better in my opinion. All the obstacles are laid out in front of you, and your own platforming skill determines if you can beat the level or not. Rarely does a death feel unfair or out of nowhere, when in Sonic, that's pretty much a constant. It's pure platforming, and you can take it as fast or as slow as you want. Funnily enough, you can move through the game faster than you can Sonic in a lot of cases, and while the highs aren't nearly as satisfying, they're way more frequent. While today the game looks pretty simple, at its time, there was no norm. This was the foundation, and the fact that it did so much right despite having nothing to go off of is nuts. Even with that importance aside though, it's the better game. A playthrough is fun whether it's your first time or your 100th time, and while Sonic gets better as you get better, there's a high skill ceiling in this game too. I will say though, in today's gaming climate, Sonic's the far more unique game. The worlds are genuinely interesting to look at, and the gameplay is still different than what any other series offers. The way momentum works is so fun to mess around with, and when you're actually able to move fast, it feels great. Still though, there's better 2D Sonics to play, and while the same can be said for Mario, it's the first 2D platformer and is still a must-have experience present day. Point number 1 goes to Mario, but this is just the beginning. If part 2 is out now, check it out there. And if not, check out one of these videos about the upcoming 2D Mario and Sonic games. Thanks for watching.